Hey guys, today I'm going to read Threefold, Section 2, Part 5, and we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. Junyo had not led them long when they reached a cliff face covered by vines with the river coming from underneath it. Sam had been a hydro-energist. Junyo remembered how Sam used to get them across the current. You will have to get us across with your geo-energy, Junyo said. I can manage that, Hugo said. Hugo formed a bridge using mud from the river. They walked across the bridge and deep into the forest with the cliff face at their side. After walking a while, Junyo spotted vines hanging and held down by a rock. He pulled on one in particular and pulled away rocks held in place by vines. Removing the rock gate revealed a dark path. Junyo sent Hugo through and let go of the vine after following. He found himself back at the cove. Nothing was the same as the day he left, except for the remains of his campfire near the river and his lightning-scorched tree. Nature had brought back its wildness. He remembered when he first came to this place near the end of his first year of high school. We're here, Sam had said. Junyo held a straight face with his arm crossed. Where is here? My mom used to bring me here. She called it her home away from home. Why did you bring me here? Junyo asked, wanting to voice his annoyance at Sam for not answering his question, but not doing so because the place involved memories of Sam's deceased mother. After what happened with the guys, I figured you needed to vent. I do not need to vent, Junyo said in a cold, harsh tone. His whole body tensed. Lightning sparked across his body. A bolt of lightning came down and struck a nearby tree, causing a small fire as a result. Sam pulled water from the river and doused the tree. You're right. What was I thinking? He turned to him after putting out the fire. Junyo went and leaned against the tree. Sam took off his shoes and socks and rested his feet in the river. When my mom died, her death pissed me off. I nearly flooded this whole place. I wanted to escape. I didn't want to face her death. I am not afraid to face them, Junyo said. I am angry at what they did to you and what they did to me. I'm not saying you're afraid of anything. I can see that you're angry. Everybody can see you're angry. You've gone from a pyroenergist to an electroenergist. I'm asking you to let it go. Leave it here. I did, and I won't potentially destroy the school. Every time I think about it, Junyo said, lightning sparked across his body more intensely. Every night, come here and rid yourself of it, Sam said, so you can accept things for how they are. Junyo tossed that idea around his head. I would not be able to come here. Drag me along whenever, because if you try to swim across that river before you learn how to control your lightning energy, especially in an agitated state, you'll electrify yourself, Sam chuckled. Junyo stared into the rushing water. He saw his reflection. That is not funny. He looked toward Sam. It's a little funny, Sam said. I have to go. Junyo headed toward the exit. Remember, I had practice with your dad. Boxing, firearms. I'm starting to think you only keep me around for my dad. Sam followed him. Junyo stopped and glared at him. I'm kidding, Sam said. You know I know you're not like that. Besides, you can't even go without me. You're in an agitated state as we speak. They left the cove and came to the river. Sam made the water dense enough for them to walk across it. He allowed Junyo to walk over to the other side first. Junyo walked with his head hung low. He kept his gaze on the ground, one foot in front of the other. He could fight them, his former friends, get revenge. They aren't worth the trouble, Sam said from behind him as if he could read his mind. Junyo glanced at him. when he noticed Sam get in front of him and lead the way to his house while walking backwards. "Think about my suggestion," Sam said. "I wouldn't steer you wrong." "This looks like a great place to settle for the night," Sam said, admiring the cove. He yawned a second time. I haven't been this exhausted. I haven't exhausted this much of my energy in a long time." Junyo watched Hugo go near his tree and gaze into the water. Hugo glanced at a spot a couple feet from him and created a large hole. Junyo noticed the hole had places where someone could sit. Hugo formed a path and used it to lead water from the river into the hole. After he finished this, he filled the path, went to the pool of water, and rubbed his hands together. He placed his hands inside the water, and he watched as his hands glowed. Hugo began to heat the water. "I bet you were surprised to hear I'm a pyroenergist," Hugo said. "I was. You never used it earlier." He would not bother to ask why he refrained from using it. He concluded Hugo probably refrained from using his pyro energy to avoid seriously injuring the guards, but that did not explain why he did not use it in the tunnel. It was a personal and private matter, and he did not expect Hugo to talk to him about it. "I don't use my pyrogenesis because I can't," Hugo said. "Well, I can't use it effectively." He was surprised when Hugo did, especially with someone he barely knew. He walked near his old spot close to the river and listened as he watched the river's current. "I can't use it because of who I am," Hugo said. Must have been his inherited. It must have been his inherited element. "My brother, father, dead grandmother, even my dead great-grandfather could use it, but I can't. The best I can do is heat up stuff." Energists. Their abilities change, develop, and grow based on who they are and who they become. Whatever my family has that allows them to use their pyro energy, I don't have it. All energies have triggers. Every element has multiple triggers. Hugo's element manifested once. He triggered his element once, but the trigger prevents him from exhibiting fire now. He possibly does not recall what triggered his pyro energy. "I don't mind," Hugo said. "You play with fire, you might get burned. But if you play with earth, you get buried." Hugo stood from the water. He appeared to have reached a comfortable temperature for him. Junyo had heard that saying before, but instead of buried, geoenergists usually said crushed. "Earth is a part of me," Hugo said. "Fire never was. It's why I was always the black sheep of my family." He laughed. He got undressed and folded his clothes to the side before sliding into the water. After he adjusted to the heat, he relaxed. "You're welcome to join." He lay back and gazed at the stars. I should say a few words. The two of them had gone through much in a short time. Hugo was going to be in his company for a while. Junyo undressed, tossed his stuff near his tree, and slid into the water across from Hugo. He took off everything except for his Stetson. No, he would get to Lunaria much quicker on his own. He would wait until Hugo went to sleep and leave. "Thanks," Junyo worked from his mouth. A brief silence passed. "For what?" Hugo asked. He sounded puzzled and surprised. "You fought Takashi. Placed yourself in a dangerous situation," Junyo realized. Hugo never asked for any type of explanation regarding the situation. "This was none of your concern, but you made it so. Thank you." Hugo raised his head and looked at him. "You don't have to thank me," he smiled. "I didn't do much. My brother and your sister, they have a plan. I wonder what it is." A silence settled. Junyo wondered the same. "It's good you didn't kill him." Hugo broke the silence. Junyo oddly heard Sam saying those words. Because of that, he felt he had to explain himself. "Together, Takashi and I dealt mortal blows," Junyo said. "I am not sure which killed him." Why kill him? He might have done wrong in his life, but a death sentence isn't right. It doesn't just punish him, it also punishes the people who cared about him. That is not how the world works, Junyo said. He noticed his words grabbed Hugo's attention and took him by surprise. People deserve to die to atone for their crimes, especially those who take the lives of the innocent. Death is their only means of atonement. The world stays in order that way. You're serious, Hugo said, shaking his head. That's not exactly how the world works either. Rehabilitation can change people for the better. When I mentioned death sentences being outlawed earlier, you said not for everyone. What did you mean? Junyo meant he had killed people in the past for those very reasons, but he was not at liberty to divulge that information. Even if he were, he would not. He trusted no one with that information. He trusted no one outside his family. Lunastra's government takes steps to ensure vicious criminals are taken care of properly. Hugo sighed. He looked like he wanted to say more on the subject, but decided against it. We'll agree to disagree. He gazed at the stars again. Junyo noticed he did not sound angry, but troubled. I've never met people who think the way you and Takashi do, Hugo said. I wouldn't believe Lunastra was secretly carrying out death sentences if I hadn't read conspiracy theories about its government's war on crime. I couldn't kill someone, whether they were guilty of a crime or in self-defense. You would probably think differently if ever placed in a situation that required you to choose between your life and someone else's or the life of someone important to you. I hope you won't kill anyone while we're traveling together, Hugo said. He and Hugo shared a look. Have you deduced I am a death-dealing agent for my government? If they came across someone who had committed heinous crimes, he would not hesitate to kill that person. He thought Hugo realized this. If he tried to kill that person, he also thought Hugo would try to stop him. He noticed a chain with a crest at the end of it hanging around Hugo's neck. He saw that it was similar to his own, except their crests differed. He had never seen someone else with one like it. Who gave you your crest? Who gave you your chain? Junyo asked. My father, Hugo said. I noticed yours earlier. I wanted to ask you about it, but it wasn't the right time. Mine's been in my family for generations. Where'd you get yours? From a woman who was close with my family, Junyo said. It had been passed down through her family. Because she had lost her kids, she wanted me to have it. Strange coincidence. No, Hugo said. Everything happens for a reason. When we see Akira and Jackson, we'll ask them about it. Junyo nodded in agreement. During the silence that followed, he left the water and dressed by the river. He gathered some sticks, made a small fire, and then went fishing with bolts of lightning in a net he had left behind. He began to prepare a meal. Something smells delicious, Hugo said. Once Hugo smelled his dinner, he dressed, moved the water back to the river, and filled the hole. He sat around the small fire. Junyo had not planned on sharing, but he had prepared several fish. I haven't had fish like this since I last went camping. I went with a good friend of mine, Shulan. She invited me on a trip with her and some of her friends. I wonder where she is now. Junyo peered at Hugo for a moment, trying to read him, not having much luck. He took a bite from a fish and slowly chewed it. He did not ask for one of his fish kebabs. When we graduated, Hugo said, she went her way and I headed back home. She's a wild one. Hopefully I'll run into her again one day. I have a question, Junyo said, losing the battle against his curiosity after he swallowed his bite of fish. What's on your mind? Hugo asked. Why does it seem as if you are having a one-sided conversation? Junyo had a puzzled expression on his face. His question and expression made Hugo laugh. We don't know each other well, Hugo said. You don't talk much, and I don't think you trust me yet. Shulan used to say I talked enough for two people. I figured once you got to know more about me, we'd go from there. You trust me after such a short time? Junyo eyed Hugo. You helped me break out of prison. You allowed me to meet your family and come to your home for dinner. I don't have a reason not to trust you. These actions were more Akura's doing, but he understood Hugo's reasoning. He had trusted Hugo to take care of Takashi, and Hugo did. Hugo followed his lead with minimal questions asked. Hugo trusted people easily, maybe too easily. You're a good guy, Hugo said. From how Akura spoke of you to how you were with Takashi, after seeing the lengths you'd go for your sister, I know I can trust you. How could you know I would not kill you in your sleep? Junyo said, less a question and more a statement. I couldn't know, Hugo said, sounding as if he was thinking of something or someone else. He looked at Junyo with a short smile. I guess that's where trust comes in. After hearing Hugo's words and getting a sense of the kind of person he was, Junyo felt he should explain a bit more about what had occurred in his past. What Junyo found interesting was he wanted to explain his actions. Isamu Minamoto, Junyo started slowly, Takashi's son, an old friend. He handed Hugo a fish kebab. You didn't have to, Hugo started, but went quiet. Thanks. He was about to bite into the fish, but he stopped himself. He looked at him and waited for him to continue. He wanted to give his full attention and listen, it seemed. Shinjiro killed Akura's closest friend and used Isamu's death to drive Takashi mad and take the warden position that should have been rightfully his. Until today, I thought others had been responsible. 3 young men, former friends. The day I left home, I left them for dead. All those years ago, I had been wrong. Hugo did not need to hear that information. You fought them to avenge your sister's friend and your friend? Hugo asked. Junyo could not gauge anything from his expression. He thought he noticed a hint of sympathy. Akura and Takashi needed me, Junyo said. I did it for myself and for the man who helped raise me. I am not sure if I killed Shinjiro, but given another chance, I would without hesitation. However, what I did to my former friends, I wish I could undo. Takashi disapproved. Sam would have too. But he knew I had trouble controlling my anger. You didn't have to tell me this, Hugo said. We're working together, I know, but I wanted you to know, Junyo said before he bit into his fish kebab. Knowing Shinjiro tried to kill your sister, Hugo said, killed her friend, and broke your father's spirit, I can see why you'd want to kill him. Hugo sighed. I'm sorry Shinjiro did this to Takashi and you. Hugo said this with such sincerity, Junyo looked over at him as he bit into his dinner. They ate the rest of their meal in silence. Once they finished and put out the fire, Hugo went to sleep after a few minutes of stargazing. Junyo leaned against his tree and gazed at the flowing river. He decided to get some rest before he left Hugo to his own devices. He allowed himself to doze off. He was unsure how long he had been asleep when a figure of light appeared near him. As the light became a man, Junyo had his handgun aimed at the stranger. I'd appreciate it if you didn't shoot me, he said. We don't want to wake Hugo yet. You should have received my message earlier. You know, Akura sent me. Who are you? Junyo asked, standing with his firearm still on the stranger. My name's Mateo, he answered. He caused a small sphere of light to emerge from his hand and hover between them to illuminate the area around them. His light did not reach or disturb Hugo. From his voice and accent, Junyo immediately determined Mateo's origin. Estrellano. He could see him clearly. Mateo's light reflected his dark brown eyes. His short black hair matched his beard. His complexion confirmed Junyo's conclusion. They shared a dark complexion except due to the position of Estrellano and how the sun affected it. Mateo gained a lighter skin tone. He inherited the larger build and rugged appearance of its inhabitants. I'm here to tell you a few things, Mateo said. He placed two packages he held under his arm on the ground. First, Akura left Calcadea. I'm sure you managed to figure that one out. You'll meet with her when you arrive in Lunaria. With Hugo. Together. She sent you when she could have told me this herself, Junyo said. Don't bother trying to contact her, Mateo said. She won't answer. For right now, you focus only on me. Junyo tried to contact Akura, but he heard nothing from her. Before he could fire a shot at Mateo, his firearm became light and disappeared from his hand. Keep your thunder to yourself, Mateo said. She said you react like this. He returned his firearm to him. If we fight, I'll win. Junyo glared at Mateo. He did not stand down. Either you pay attention, Mateo said, or I move Hugo to the bottom of the river. Junyo glanced at Hugo. He reluctantly placed his handgun in its holster. You act like you don't believe me, Mateo said, but you do. Akura is safe. You don't have to worry about her. Junyo placed no trust in him, but he did know Mateo spoke the truth. Akura hid many things from him. If Akura could not explain herself, he would get Mateo to answer his questions. Akura went to Lunaria to meet with Jackson. They have a plan. You are working on it with them. Offer an explanation, or you will force me to get it out of you. You're not going to get an explanation from me, Mateo said. You'll get them from Akura later. This situation is out of your control. If you don't see that and accept it, your actions will result in consequences for others. Mateo glanced at Hugo. Junyo felt his anger. He hated taking orders and he hated being cornered. This was a reason he preferred to work alone. He could not make a move and risk someone else's safety. This was the man Takashi had met, the Lucé energist. Why would Akura send you? Junyo demanded. He did not believe she would send someone who would threaten him or Hugo. You don't seem to understand, Mateo said. He crossed his arms. I'm not here to listen to you. Keep calm and keep your anger in check. Lightning sparked across Junyo's body. He felt disrespected. He wanted to fight. With Hugo sleeping soundly, he clenched his fists down at his sides. His muscles tensed. He forced the lightning to disperse. You're doing great, Mateo said. Here's what you need to know. Someone is going to come to you looking for me. I want you to fight him and beat him. Akura has told me a lot about you, so I know you'll get the job done. Really listen to this next part. Break his spirit. Junyo narrowed his eyes upon hearing this odd, unexpected request. But don't break him, Mateo said. He might bring back bad memories, but remember, the past is the past. Mateo stood on one foot and used his other foot to scratch the back of his leg. Junyo shot lightning from his eyes. Junyo blinked a few times to restore his vision. He watched Mateo become a figure of light and disappear. Mateo reappeared behind him and grabbed him in a chokehold. Junyo discharged lightning from his body. Mateo became a figure of light before it could affect him, reappeared in front of him, and kicked him in the chest. Junyo fell to the ground. Mateo placed a foot on his chest and leaned his weight on him. He placed his hands on Mateo to electrocute him, but Mateo stared into his eyes before he did. Hugo. Junyo stopped. He brought his hands back to his sides. You're good, Junyo. Mateo leaned more of his weight on Junyo's chest, but he did not dare show any sign of pain. I'm just better. He added his added wild grin made Junyo want to rage. Back to our conversation. He stomped on Junyo's chest. You can't go to Lunaria until you kick his ass. Junyo glared. Mateo took his foot off his chest and offered him a hand to pull him to his feet. Junyo ignored his offer and sat up. Don't be that way, Mateo said, standing over him. He walked to Hugo and nudged him awake with his foot. After your job's done, this guy will keep you three plenty busy. Hugo woke groggily. Uh, who are you? Hugo managed to a yawn. Mateo. Mateo introduced himself. I'm a friend of Jackson's. Hugo sat up wide awake. He glanced at Junyo. Junyo noted his expression of confusion. He stood and dusted himself off. Akura, too. Use your pyro energy, Mateo said. If you need to, ask for help. He jerked his head in Junyo's direction. He used to be a pyro energist. He can give you a few pointers. Also, don't interfere in his fight. And last but not least, pave the way. Alright guys, that was the end of part 5. Tomorrow will be part 6. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit longer, but it was a longer part. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know. Yeah, I know it's, this voice acting, I love it, but I'm practicing, so bear with me. If you have anything you want to say about the characters, or the story, or the plot, or the voice acting, let me know. I love hearing from people. And have a good night. Bye.